Okay, so I'm just getting the live stream sorted out. Give me a few moments. Okay, so this evening we are going to have a bit of fun with the Boeing 777 in Flight Simulator. So just before we get going, let's have a look at this on the ground. It's a monster, as you can see. We're going to get rid of all those vehicles in a moment, but before we do that, I thought we might go and look at the route. So the recent update to the Eastern USA in Flight Simulator has improved both Buffalo in New York, which is over on the western side of New York, just west of Rochester, as you can see. So we're going to take off from Buffalo and fly a hand-drawn route, basically. So I'm going to try loading it in via SimBrief, see if it understands what I've asked it to do. And we're going to fly down to Allentown in Pennsylvania, which apparently has also been updated. So what I'll try and do is hardwire the aeroplane on the autopilot to fly at a low altitude around both areas. So we'll see how we get on with that. So there's Buffalo. So rather than fly the straightforward climb out to, say, 27,000 feet, we will fly the first few waypoints at low altitude. So if we look here, Buffalo is at 704 feet. So if we go to about 4,000 feet maybe for the first few waypoints, and then climb out beyond that. Obviously you can see on the plot here on LittleNavMap, there aren't really any hills on either end of the route, so it should be fairly straightforward. Okay, let's go and release all of those vehicles from around the aeroplane. So hopefully they will all go away. So if we go and have a look now, yep, they've all magically vanished, which is good. So first things first, we go overhead and we go and turn on the batteries. Then we go back down to the tablet and we go to ground connections and we request ground power to the aeroplane, and it's now connected. So then we can go back overhead and we can go for primary and secondary external power, and we can get the APU started up. Next we need to do, completely forgot, we need to switch on the ADI route. So that's the inertial guidance, and then go and turn the window heats on. Put the IFE passenger seats and cabin utility switches on. Go and arm the emergency lights and cage the switch. And switch on the passenger oxygen. Now the doors are all closed, obviously. So then we can go down to the FMC, and this is where we're going to have some fun and games to see if this is going to behave itself with the flight plan that I have chosen. So before we get to that, let's go over to the tablet, and we need to go to... Now I've got to remember where you get to this. Go to the home screen, go to the EFB, request the data from SimBrief. So I've already planned the route. So we're going from KBUF to KABE. So you can see there's the basic route from Buffalo over to Allentown. We can go and get the weather at the departure airport, so 240 degrees, 9 knots. So that's why we are going to be taking off on runway 24. So having done this in here, should we get the Navigraph map up actually, because it looks a bit nicer than this one. So if we go and zoom in on this, yeah, you get to see a bit more information. Oh, it centers itself, doesn't it, unless you tell it not to, but that's fine. Should we put it on night mode so it looks a bit easier to look at? Actually, if we zoom in once more on this, it will show that route around the city, or at least a little bit. Yeah, it hasn't got very good stepping, has it, on the zooms? Okay, so now we've loaded this into here, we should get the option in the FMC. I've not covered this in a video yet. I have been thinking about doing it fairly soon. So if we go to the FMC page now, it's saying enter initial position, that's fine. So we can go to pos init, we can pick up the GPS position. He says, famous last words. And drop it in. And then come back. Okay, so menu, FMC. Interesting. Why is it doing that? Let's go to the route page. So we're going to go from and to. So we can, but notice we can do a route request now. So as long as you've selected on the tablet where you're going, you can then select the SimBrief route, and it picks it up. Okay, so we can select the route, but notice we can set the payload and the fuel from SimBrief as well. So we'll just get rid of those messages having done that, and then we can select route. So that's programmed into the route of the aircraft automatically, the route that we had in SimBrief. We can activate and execute that, and if we look in legs, do we actually get them? See, this is a shame, isn't it? It hasn't actually picked up the legs. It's just done a direct routing. Or is it going to do it? Uplink ready. Will the legs page actually fill itself up in a moment? So let's go and look in the route page again. Load. So there's the data. So on our runway departing from Buffalo, we're wanting to leave on runway 23. Execute. Was it just taking a while with the legs? Yes, it was. So we've got our full route in there. So let's just check the first few. So Onsit, Haidub and Yulku. So Onsit, Haidub, yeah, it's got the whole route, and Yulku. Brilliant. Okay, so you will notice it has not got any altitudes in the route because it didn't. We haven't, just done a hand-programmed route. But if we go into, we'll go and follow through setting up the rest of the configuration. So we've got flight level 270, and we'll put in the 0 fuel weight automatically. And it's interesting actually that hasn't pre-calculated the climb and descent. Anyway, accept that. Go to thrust limit and takeoff, go to flaps 15 for takeoff, center of gravity calculated, transfer the V speeds over, thrust limit, yeah, that's all good fun, that's all done now. So we're going to depart on runway 23. We're not doing a SID, and we are going to arrive, we're not doing a star, but we are going to come in runway ILS 24 and execute that. So let's go and look through the legs page and see if there are any discontinuities. Yeah, there are, look. So just that final run into the runway, it doesn't like that. That's fine. So you can see now the aeroplane's going to do this big looping circle around Buffalo. Well, that's the basic plan anyway. And it's now calculated the altitudes on the way out. So if we go and press legs to go up to the top, what I'm going to do is reprogram it. So at onset we want to be doing, say, 220, and instead of that altitude we'll put 4,000, if I can type it in. Okay. And then the next one, we want to do that every waypoint until we get to glute. Yeah? So 220/4,000. Put that in here. 220/4,000. Notice the aeroplane is recalculating the climb parameters. you know, the estimated altitudes at the following waypoints. 220/4000. So then if we go next page, there's Glute. So we could probably start climbing by then, couldn't we? But no, we'll put in the same for Glute. 220/4000. And the same is going to be true at the other end. We want to get down to, by the time we are on approach to Allentown, so Shaggy, I guess, would be the point to be at 4000 by. But maybe Cavru, so we come in low over the city. So let's go next. So Cavru, we want to do the same again then. 220. Let's just check the altitude of the airfield. So 384 feet. So we could be at, yeah, 4000 is fine for that then. Cavru, 220 and 4000 feet. Then Shaggy, 220/4000. Then Towin, 220/4000. Now, what we need to be doing is, yeah, we want to be coming down to say 3000 by FONUP. So if we say 220 and 3, yeah, it's already in there, look. So we'll just go to 220. It's already got 220 knots to do the rest, look. So that's probably pretty good then for the rest of it. So we'll execute that. So that's got our basic route in with some altitude restrictions of our own design in there. So if we go up to the top of Lakes, you'll see we're only going to climb out to 4000 feet. Okay, so you can see, because we've reduced that speed, it's made the aircraft make these turns a lot more easily. So what do we need to do next? I'm just looking through bits and pieces on here. So we've done the legs, we've done the init refs. Master control panel. So we're going to go and put our cruise altitude directly in, because we'll use VNav, and then that will take care of the climbing out, so we can stay on the external view throughout the flight. I know I could switch this to thousands, but I'm almost there already. Okay, and we'll set this for the initial runway direction, which we said was 230. Indicator airspeed is fine. The auto throttles are already armed. We need to go and turn on the flight directors though. It's all done, and we'll calibrate the altimeters for the local barometric pressure, and we'll put the auto brake on rejected takeoff. I always wonder about that being this early in the checklist, but I'm going by the one that comes with the aeroplane. I wouldn't have put the auto brake on until I was taxiing out to the runway, but maybe there's a reason for doing it so early. Okay, so central pedestal, so control 4 brings us over here. We're going to go and put the transponder onto standby for the moment. We'll switch it back on when we get to the runway. So now we're going to prepare for pushback and start. So we're going to go and put the beacon light on before we do the pushback, and put the fuel pumps on. How much fuel? Oh yeah, we've already got fuel in the aircraft, haven't we? We could pull up the display to have a look at that. So if we go over here, looking for this switch here, and press fuel, then down here you get a view of the fuel in the tanks. So yeah, there's 17 in the wings, 0 in the center. That's all fine. So then we can press Eng again, and that will show the default view of the engine displays. Ready for engine start. So pumps are on. We can push back, so we need to ensure the parking brake is released. So let's look down here. Let's make sure the controls are working as well while we're here. So, interesting. I think I might need to release my throttle quadrant and plug it back in again. I'm just unplugging it. Unplug it back in. So the throttles are working. And now the brakes are working as well, which they weren't previously. Okay, so we can now go and release the ground power. So we need to go into the ground operations, ground connections, release the ground power, because the APU will be up and running by now. Okay, that's done. Oh, we need to remove the chocks as well. So remove chocks. Did that take that click? There it goes. And then we can push back. So I'm just going to press Shift P to shortcut doing that. So if we press Shift and P, you'll see the tractor come out to the aeroplane. And while we're waiting for that, we can have a look. So we want to be turning right. So we'll just push back in a straight line. Then when we've got the engines running, we'll go along Charlie. Or what's this one called here? It hasn't got a letter on the map. That's unfortunate. We could probably see it in Navigraph if we had it running. So we're going to taxi along here, then do a right turn and go down to the beginning of runway 23. So someone's asking me, can I click the pen? I think it clicks, doesn't it? I don't know if it does anything else to the aeroplane. So we're just waiting for the pushback. And then we'll go through starting the engines, which is really straightforward on this aeroplane. Okay, that's probably enough. So we'll look down and make sure we know. So hold the toe brakes in, lift this up, let go of the toe brakes, and that's engage the parking brake. Let's go and get those engines started, shall we? So overhead, we just want to go and start engine number 2. And we can immediately advance the fuel control in the 777 and wait for that to come up. So we're just waiting for the engine to spool up. So you start to see the heat pouring out of the back of the engine. Okay, so the switch will go back to norm, there it goes, and then we turn engine number 1 on. So what's happening here is the APU is spinning the engine up, and then the ignition will kick in automatically, so you'll see the exhaust gas temperature shoot up as soon as ignition and fuel flow starts. So you'll see that correspond down here with the fuel flow. So you can see the speed of the engine coming up. Then you'll see the fuel flow kick in. Famous last words. There it goes, and watch the exhaust gas temperature climb all of a sudden. There it goes, and then you'll see the turbofan pick up as well. Okay, so now we've got both engines running, we can go overhead and we can turn the APU back to off. We can go and switch on the hydraulics. Okay. And prepare to taxi. So we go and put the taxi light to on. We make sure the flaps are in takeoff position, so the flap lever is over here. We want them on 15 degrees, which is about here, I think. We'll just go and check that. Have we gone too far? No, that's on the 15 degree notch. That's good. So you can see it travelling here, so you can see what you've commanded and the flap position as they move. Okay, let's go and taxi out. So I'm going to gently roll the throttles forwards, and we'll also turn the head tracking on now. Oh, I need to remove the parking brake, don't I? So you just hold the toe brakes on for 3 seconds and the parking brake releases itself. Okay, and we're rolling. So steer right. Try not to suck the ground crew into the engines. And we'll taxi down to the runway. While we're taxiing, we could go and get Navigraph up and running, couldn't we? So we get to view charts and things along the way. Maybe not wait too long for it to load, though. Hey, I'll wait until I'm stable on the taxiway and then sort the rest of it out. So what we should be able to do in Navigraph is unload what I had loaded, go to IFR high, import flight from SimBrief, this one, and then we get to see the route. We'll put it on the VFR chart for the beginning of the route. Actually, we could use the FAA sectionals, couldn't we? They're here. So then you can see our little aeroplane with Buffalo, New York there. So we're going to take off this way and then the aeroplane will fly a lap of Buffalo. Hopefully fully automatically. Well, that's the plan anyway. So this is all up and running, so we should be able to go and pre-select LNAV and VNAV. So then the moment we switch the autopilot on, the aeroplane will start, hopefully, behaving itself. So let's have a look at the ECAM screens. So doors are on auto, no smoking is on, auto brake is on RTO. We haven't turned on TCAS yet, so that's why we've got an orange message up there. We can get this onto TFC mode to give us the range rings. We'll wait until we're on the runway before we turn TCAS on and turn the strobes and the landing lights on. I'm going to go to the full length of the runway. So the whole idea of programming this into the aeroplane and getting it to fly itself is we can go and sit outside and have a look at the scenery. Well, that's the plan. Because apparently, I've not seen it myself yet, but apparently both Buffalo and Allentown are improved. getting this huge lump of an aeroplane somewhere near the centre line. So it's just complaining about the checklists. If we want to do the checklist, it's not that difficult actually. I'll just show you that before we get going. Oh, we're rolling. Let's just put the parking brake on for a moment while we do this. If we pull that open. So all you need to do, yeah, it's complaining now about TCAS and checklists, so that's fine. If we open the checklist, they appear down here, and you can go and tick everything basically that we've already done. So if you were going to do this by the book, you'd be ticking this off as you go through things. Typically, you know, one person in the cockpit would say the things, and then the other person would double check them. It's saying the norm checklist is not complete, which is fuel control switches to cut off. No, they're not. Fuel is absolutely fine. Anyway, so we'll leave the checklist alone. We're going to turn TCAS on now. Go and put the landing lights on. Straighten the view up. And put the head tracking back on. There we go. Release the parking brake. Okay, so we're watching the indicated airspeed. We're watching for the rotate markers to come past our current speed. Okay, gear up. Auto throttle is engaged, autopilot is on. And we can just use the flap control now, so we are going to leave the flaps on 5 degrees for the moment. Oh, actually no, we can go flaps up. Good. Oh well, it sims frozen, give it a few seconds. So we're going to go to the outside view now and admire the scenery. Hopefully, if the sim ever unlocks itself. There we go. Should we do this from the drone camera? Looks amazing, doesn't it? let's have a look at the plan and see where we are. So we're just coming round the southeastern side of Buffalo, and then we'll turn away and start climbing. You can hear the engines winding up, can't you? Okay, the airplane is now accelerating out and climbing. So you're going to say hello to the pilots. Okay, so enough with the fun bit for the moment. Let's go and have a look inside the flight deck, make sure everything's okay. So yep, there's no smoking sign is still on, auto throttle is still armed, autopilot is still on, we're on the route. Let's go and increase the range. So, climbing out quite quickly out to 27,000 feet. We're not going very high today. And then we'll go on with the rest of the route. So if we go and open the EFB, we can see ourselves on the map here as well, which is really cool. Should go and put TCAS on the co-pilot side as well, if I could click on it. So the airplane has just dipped the nose, so the green bananas disappeared for the estimated top of climb. But you can see top of climb is still marked according to the original flight plan, but it's dipped its nose because it's favouring accelerating out to cruise speed. So we will be above the clouds in a few moments. It was lovely and clear over Buffalo, wasn't it? So if we have a look at the map, we can see where the route takes us. So you can see we're climbing out now. I'm not sure if we get a higher resolution. No, we don't. Not on the sectionals in here. I guess if we go to the VFR map, will that give us anything better? Not really, but it does give us town names. Or actually waypoint names, which isn't really much use. What about world map? Will that do it? Yeah, it just gives you place names along the way. So in some ways, LittleNavMap becomes better in that regard, because we're using Google Maps in the background, so it's giving us actual places along the way. So we've got a bit of a trip now until we get to top of descent, which won't be for quite some time. We look for, yeah, it's way out, it's about 100 miles out from us. Mind you, saying that, we're doing 320 indicated, which once we're at altitude is 400 and something over the ground. So I put a load of waypoints on the route just so we get, you know, some interest along the way. So it's the only interest with this pen that you can click it. It doesn't actually do anything other than being clickable. It doesn't have any effect on anything like a Easter egg or anything, I guess. Anyway. So this will give us our ETA. So at the moment we're 2112, which is UTC, I'm guessing. So in here, if we go route data, you get the ETA at each waypoint. So 2151. So about half an hour. Just over half an hour. Okay, we came up through came up through 18,000 feet a few moments ago. Obviously there's a box now drawn around the barometric pressure because we should be going to standard barometric pressure, and it's done it both sides, which is good. So it's effectively retuning the altimeter to 2992 inches or 1013 hectopascals. So everybody above the transition altitude has the same altitude configuration as each other. We can go and I haven't put the seatbelts on. I missed that completely. It's not on my checklist, is it? I ought to check that. Make sure I go and put it in there. Yeah, I'll make a slight change to that. And the landing lights obviously could have come off at 10,000 feet, or should have come off at 10,000 feet. I was too busy talking and looking around the aeroplane. Should we have a look at it now we're at altitude? The flex on the wing. Scenery is amazing, isn't it? Okay, so we can see the end of the route coming. Top of descent is only 40 odd miles away now. So should we drop to 18,000 just to give it something to do? Of course it won't do it on... Or will it do it on VNav? Let's have a think. Yeah, it should do, because it's the commanded altitude. It will just obey restrictions on the way. Yeah, it just took a while to dial it in. And because we haven't really got any restrictions, it will just come straight down, because there's no asterisks. What I want to do is make sure that we're low enough to have a good look around at Pennsylvania on the way in. It's from altitude, yeah, it looks lovely, but you can't really see anything. So let's just go and review the way in. So we're going to come in, across the hills, and then basically do a low altitude loop around Allentown and then go out to the northeast, turn around at the Fonup waypoint, get the ILS and come in runway 24. It's a 7,600 foot runway, Allentown, so should be okay. Let's have a look at the Navigraph charts for that, see if it's got much in the way of charts for us. So there's the chart. If we go and switch this over to Auto IFR, there's the cleaned up chart. So what we want to see really for this airport, if we open the airport and go to the charts and look at the approach charts, we want ILS 24. Is that one, so if we pin it, it becomes available here, and then we can superimpose it onto the map, and then you get to see if there's anything we need to know about on the way in. So it really wants us at 3,000 feet when we come through Mudry, which is at the beginning of the feathers. Okay. So if we look at that on the chart over here, Mudry isn't even here. Oh, it's further out, look. So we might want to put Mudry in front of Fonup. Should we do that? Oh, it probably did it, didn't it? If we go and look, actually that may have messed it up. It's a good job we looked at this. Fonup and Mudry are in the wrong way, aren't they? Yeah, so I can remove Fonup because Mudry is further out than Fonup. So what we can do, if I press the right buttons, I'm just going to turn head tracking off for a moment. We'll remove Fonup from our route. So what we've actually got going on here, we're going to fly out to Mudry. Okay. So can we get this to do that for us? We don't really want that to happen. So what we could do is just edit this. So instead of fon up, we're going to put Mudry in. And then that will correct it for us. Obviously on the flight information, if we wanted to, we could go and select the approach. So if we go and close that, we could say ILS runway 24, final, add to route, and it will just drop that line in. So we're way out here at the moment. How are we doing on that descent? 22,000 feet. Yeah, we want to come down a bit quicker than that, really. So let's go and take this down to 5,000. And we'll put the spoilers out to help it do it. So I'm going to turn VNav off and go for flight level change. And we'll tell it go for 250 knots immediately, so we can come straight through 10,000 feet without worrying about it. And we'll go for spoilers. Look at the speed coming off. So it's obviously favouring changing airspeed before we start really descending on the flight level change. So if we go and look outside, you will see the spoilers are out on the wings. So we're concentrating on slowing down at the moment, and then we'll drop like a stone. And you'll see the navigation display change its mind about when we will get to our 5,000 feet. Okay, we've just hit it. Here it comes, look. So the nose is dropping as we speak, because it's maintaining 250 knots with the spoilers out. And because we're in flight level change, it's going down at the steepest route, or the steepest rate it can in the current configuration. Look at the altitude falling off. So we obviously don't need to be coming down quite that steep, so if we remove the spoilers, you can watch the difference that will make to the projected point at which we get to 5,000. It makes a huge difference, doesn't it? So we are going to put the spoilers back out. But maybe not as fiercely as we did before. It's just warning me that I've got the speed brake extended. That's fine. See, we've not got them open as much now as we did earlier, which is why it isn't affecting us as much. They're saying that it's still trying to run the engines. We could come down a lot more steeply if we really wanted to. Because if we were to turn the auto throttle off, I guess you have to do it here, and then pull the engines back to idle, watch. Look at the descent rate. So that's how steeply we really can come down. Amazing, isn't it? So I need to go and do the barometric pressure, so I'm going to put the auto throttle back on for the moment. So arm it again, turn it back on, and let it handle it itself. So we need to go and find out the barometric pressure at the destination airport. So open the airport, go to the weather section, and we can see it's 2998. So we come back off standard, and we just wanted to turn this round to 2998. So it's not massively different. There we go. Done. And let the aeroplane keep. See, this is interesting, isn't it? Now, because we were already idling the engines, it's now happy to idle them, or almost idle them. So auto throttle seems to be obeying them. That's very odd. So let's go and put the spoilers back out. We're too fast at the moment. It's just warning us about speed brakes again. So the whole idea here is we get down low enough that we can see the scenery nicely, and then we'll let the aeroplane fly the loop around Allentown at low altitude. So we're heading straight down to 5,000 feet. We actually want to go for 4, don't we? So then we get to have a look at the scenery on the way in. So about to come in down below 10,000 feet, so we'll go and turn the landing lights on when we come down to 10,000. Okay, we come down to 10,000 feet now, so landing lights come on. So what's this place we're just passing over? Let's have a look at the map. Wilkes Bar. Is that Scranton? Scranton International. Yeah, you can see the airport over there, look. See the leading lights. There's another one here. Okay, I put it on back onto VNav and remove the spoilers. So we're coming into the low altitude loop around Allentown, but we're still about 25 miles out. So we look here, you can see that. If we put this on the VFR map or on the sectionals, you'll be able to see it. Let's get rid of the approach chart for the moment. So we're just coming in over the northwest. And then down, we'll loop around downtown Allentown on our way out to the approach for the airport. We start to see our route appearing in here, and you can see a secondary, well, there's a hold out there, look, so if we have a missed approach. So you can hear the engines coming up to maintain 250 knots at 5,000. It's doing a really bad job of it. And it should be targeting to... Oh no, we left it, didn't we? We didn't set target airspeeds for the final bit. But why isn't it continuing on down to 4,000? Okay, the engines have gone wrong, haven't they? I've seen problems with this. Okay, we're going to go and take control of this ourselves. Should we go to speed mode? So what the airplane's doing now is coming down at 1,200 feet a minute until it gets to 4,000 feet, and then it will go to altitude hold automatically. We don't even have to come down that steeply. We could come down at 500 feet a minute. We've got plenty of room. We've got 20 miles to get down to 4,000 for our estimate. So this is that range of hills. We're not quite high enough now to see it properly. If you look on the relief map, on LittleNavMap, you'll start to see them. Yeah, here they are, look. These ridges on the way into Allentown. Let's have a look at them from outside. Okay, so we're about 20 miles out from the edge of Allentown now. Just tootling along, slowly bleeding speed off down to 220 knots. Let's go and revert back to the external view. Okay, so we're just passing over Slattington, is that? It's very difficult to see on the map. So, cruising along 220 knots, we can reduce the range again on the navigation display, so you can start to see around us now. There's another airfield out there. That's the one we're going to be landing at. We're seeing straight down runway 13 there. We're going to be coming in the adjacent runway, so across it you can't see it from this angle. Okay, so it's starting to get fun now with the scenery, so let's have a look. So we're into photogrammetry territory with Allentown by the look of it. Huge quarry. Should do this from the drone camera. It's easier to direct it, isn't it? Okay, so we're essentially going to scoot off around here and come back in on that runway we've just passed. It's very good scenery, isn't it? So a couple more miles and we'll make another turn. Couple of masts on the hill up there. Okay, before we get there then, let's just go and pull up the ILS chart and make sure that we've got the settings right. 10855, 243 degrees. 10855, 243 degrees. Perfect. can see the route is penciled in. So we're just making that left turn. I'll leave it on manual on the speed, I'll control it on the way in. I'll do a manual landing. This big building is down here, complex of buildings, some sort of manufacturing plant or logistics for something. So a nice comment there from Nick K about me, my videos being quite chilled. Yeah, I can't see the point about getting excited about flying aeroplanes. It's I just find it all interesting and fascinating, I guess. Okay, we've got quite a steep turn to make in a moment, but you can see the autopilot has figured it out already, so we'll just come down to 10 miles range now, so you can see that quite easily. But we're going to start pulling the speed down even further. So we're going to ask the autopilot to lose another bit of airspeed. So we'll let it bleed off. You can see it's just reduced the engines to idle almost. And the speed is slowly bleeding off. And then the engines will spool up again to maintain 200 knots. So we can go to flaps 1 now, which we will do. There we go, it's appeared on the display. Just going to double check a few things. So landing lights are on. We'll go and put the seatbelt signs onto auto. I know we didn't do it on the way out, but okay, we're going to go for 5-degree flap, if it will let me. There we go. And we're going to cut this back to 180. We're going to have a look at outside of those flaps now. You can see the wings have changed shape quite significantly now. Approaching the turn into finals. We'll put the... Actually, we could watch this on this side, couldn't we? If we reduce the range. And then we could put this onto landing system, or approach mode as it is in the Boeing. So you can see the localizer, and we're a little bit high. So, just switching the autopilot off. Do I have to press the button on this one? Yeah, I do. So we'll just drop down onto the... There we go. It's doing an altitude alert, that's fine. Gear can come down. Steered a little bit too steeply around that corner. See the runway out there. We're looking for the localizer. Here comes the localizer. Sorry, there's the glide slope. So we're going to be slightly off to the right, but we can fix that. Okay, should we turn the auto throttles off? It's just complaining because the auto throttle's been disconnected. A little bit high. Is it just me, or has this been trimmed incorrectly? Maybe it's just me. We have got a crosswind, that's what's going on. So it's only 12 knots though. I wouldn't think it would affect it that much. Let's get down onto that glide slope. Seems like a very low glide slope. I know it isn't, but it just seems that way. This plane is very odd sometimes. Oh, the wind has just changed, that's what's going on. It started to sink, but I think it was just the geographical features around us. It's no complaining that I haven't done the checklist, but that's fine.
300. 200.
Glide slow. Glide slow.
Yeah, I know, I'm below
Glide
it. I'm
slow.
looking for the target though.
Glide slow.
I'm looking at the VASI lights. Whoa, it's just changed. It went into ground effect there, and it's very
50.
odd.
30. 20. 10.
The back wheels are on the ground now. I don't think I've set reversers up on this yet, so we're just going to use spoilers. I need to get around to doing that. Let's just try it just out of interest. Or maybe I did. Oh, I did. I'd forgotten I'd done it. You're not supposed to use them below about 70 knots though, so we'll just roll along. Spoilers can come up, flaps can come up, and we can come off at the next exit. I'm still getting used to landing this. It's such a big lump compared to some of the others. And it does oddly change behaviour because it's so big. The ground effect is very, very apparent. Okay. Strobes can come off. Taxi light is on already. Okay, so where are the terminals? I guess this is a generic airport, isn't it? So it's going to have the generic terminal building over there. It is a monster, isn't it? I don't think in reality a 777 would come in here somehow. Because there wouldn't be any room for anything else to get around behind us, would there? Okay, so we'll cheat slightly. Instead of using the APU, bear with me a moment, we'll go and ask for the chocks, and we'll ask for the ground power. Interesting. Air start inhibit dual. There we go. So now we've got ground power. We can go and transfer over to it, and then we can shut the engines down. And we can turn the lights off as well while we're here. They were already off. Taxi light can come off. So if we go and have a look overhead, we can go and just switch off everything that we turned on earlier. So the hydraulics can come off now, the fuel pumps can come off. The IFO utility power, the APU is already off. We can disarm the emergency lights, we can turn the window heats back off. We never had that on, did we? That's interesting. I thought we switched that on earlier. Anyway, that's interesting, you can't switch that back off. There must be a procedure for doing that. We haven't turned the TCAS off yet. I should have done that before I left the runway, really. Okay, so we could just go and shut the rest of the airplane down, really. So we're running on external power at the moment. We can just remove external power and then turn the batteries off. Oh, forgot something. Adiru. There we go. And we're cold and dark. So I think on even when you're cold and dark, you can still on the jet bridge go over here. Or sorry, on the tablet you can ask for the jetway connection. So let's request it, and that will go onto the aeroplane. So you should see the door open automatically, I would imagine. You would hope. Maybe it doesn't open until it's on it. So if we go and look at door management, has it opened? Entry to left. So then if we were to go and walk down through the cabin, can we see that door is now open? There's entry 1, so entry 2 is over here. So yeah, there's the jetway. We'll get there in a moment. Just walking through business class. And there we go. So I don't think it will let us walk any further than that. We could do it with the drone camera. Should we try that? So we'll need to fly over here, won't we? Go in through the fuselage. Whoop. Yeah, so you could obviously go in through here, and then you find yourself in an approximated 3D structure, which doesn't quite work sometimes. And look, yeah, no floor. Back through this way, and you end up inside an invisible building because, yeah, the airport isn't modelled. But you get some idea. There we go. So that was a quick look at Buffalo and Allentown, which were upgraded in the recent simulator update, and another go in the 777, which I'm still learning. Yeah, getting better each time. Still finding dark corners of the flight management system. Okay, one thing I haven't looked at on this, which I should have looked at, I guess, when I did the first look at it, is the undercarriage, because PMDG are kind of famous for this, being really nicely modelled. So let's go and have a look at this really closely. That's mad, isn't it? Let's go and look at the trucks on the main gear. That is mad, isn't it? So obviously that door shuts itself for aerodynamic purposes once the gear has deployed. Look at all the hydraulic runs. They're fantastic, aren't they, for the brakes? Very cool. Of course, yeah. We've also got the 3D structures inside the engine. Fantastic. You can see the turbofan there, look, on the front of the gas turbine. Brilliant. And the wings will be flexing the other way now. Yeah, look, there's a convex curve on the wing. Amazing. If you look along that leading edge. Right, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed that one. I'm going to go and watch some rubbish TV and enjoy the rest of my Sunday evening. And before I return to work tomorrow. So, yep. Everybody have a great week at work if you are working. If not, then I'm very jealous that you can spend more time in the sim than I can. And I'll see you again soon. Take care.